am tired of seeing y'all be led astray, especially when you're starting at a new company or even just starting a new job at the company you already work at. Now, there's a lot of bad advice on the internet. Okay, I got great news for you. This video is not one of them. I've worked in HR. I have been there. I have done that. And the mistakes that other people are going to be making, like the people who won't get promoted, the people who won't get paid well, those aren't the mistakes that you and I make. Okay? Okay, so get in, bestie. We're getting paid. Also, hi! If you're new here, my name is Emily Durham. I'm a careers coach and a careers content creator, and my goal is to help you thrive in your 9 to 5 and beyond. When you start at a new job, whether it's at a new company or the same company you've been working at for a minute, and maybe it's just a different team or a different boss, we don't really have the runway to fuck up and make a mistake because they don't know you. When we start at a new company, we don't have the ability to make a bunch of mistakes or worse, even make a bunch of enemies. Starting off strong, don't be a hero, babe. Resist the urge to start a new job and try to immediately become the office celebrity, the smartest person in the room, the most well-liked person in the room. Because when you haven't earned your stripes, that's actually going to work against you more than you think it will. Do not monopolize conversations with people. Don't try to be the loudest. Don't try to have the last word. Don't feel like you need to be the most seen right away. I've seen way too many people start at a company coming in really hot, being like really loud, really bold, like really in your face. And the whole company's like, okay, girl, chill. Like, oh my God. Instead, what you want to do is observe. I'm so for real, spend the first 3 weeks of this job figuring out who's who. And you're quickly going to start to see people who are like those girls. They are the people everyone respects. They do good work. They constantly get promoted. They're spoken of really, really highly. Like they just have, I don't know, a little star power, an office celebrity, if you will. And pay attention to how these people operate. What kind of language do they use? Are they casual communicators? Are they very formal? Are there office politics that they play into? Are they very kind to certain people? Are they chummy with certain executives? What kind of work do they do? When they put together a PowerPoint presentation, what does it look like? What's their presentation style? How do they dress? Like literally observe everything. Get on some weird Joe Goldberg shit, okay? We're obviously not gonna copycat them because we're not little freak weirdos, but what we are gonna do is pay attention to the stuff that's made them successful because what that is signaling to you is what matters at this company. How do you communicate and how do you play the political game? Because every single office culture is a little bit different. And I know this next thing is gonna be kind of rude, but I don't know. I don't give a shit, really. If you and I are good, then I don't think I care. Pay attention to the people no one respects. And you might ask yourself, how am I gonna be able to tell? You'll know. There's gonna be one person that everyone kind of rolls their eyes at when they come by the office. Yeah, see how that person operates. Usually that person is too chatty, is really gossipy, doesn't really leave space for other people to have good conversation. Like they just kind of suck the energy out of the room, and pay attention to what they do so you avoid it like the plague. There's definitely a theme here. I believe in order to be very successful in a new job, you need to be focusing your energy on observing, not necessarily executing, because the biggest and the most like intense tell that someone is going to succeed at a company really quickly is they don't try to boil the ocean right away. What they try to do is figure out the why and the how. For example, when I worked at a very large Canadian bank, their why, like the reason they did what they did, was to financially empower Canadians. And how they did that was by offering products and services that connected Canadians with money. And do you want to know why this is so important? Because eventually, when you need to start asking for favors, influencing people, and getting things done, the only way you're going to be able to do that is through strong relationships, which realistically you're not going to have for a bit because you've just started, and connecting it to the company's mission. Because if you have a goal or a project or need to change something and you need to influence the people around you, for example, if you've started at a new job and you notice the process isn't great and you don't know how to tell your boss, you can't really just say, oh, this process is shit, your whole team is an idiot. What you do is you anchor it in the why and the how of the company. I've noticed reviewing applications takes the team about 8 to 9 days, and our goal is to deliver financial freedom for Canadians quickly. Is there any way for us to speed up this process? Are you okay if I take a stab at maybe innovating a bit here? It's really hard to say no when you bring up the vision that the CEO of the company has put into place, okay? And the same thing goes if you ever need favors, you anchor it in the why of the company. And when you just start at a company, understanding the why and the how helps you understand what teams are very important, which leaders are very important, and it helps you navigate who you build relationships with really, really quickly. As you're observing, as you're understanding why and how this company operates the way that they do, with the permission of your manager, because I have been burned before by doing this without the permission. Ma, I can't have anything. As I was saying, One of the best things you can do when you first start at a company or in a new job is starting to build relationships, because they take time, and the sooner you start, the better. In addition to that, having a strong first impression is also so important. So if you're known as the person who's confident and bold enough to reach out to people, ask to grab a coffee, it immediately sets the relationship off on a really positive foot. And in a way, it kind of puts you in a position of authority. Like, it really evokes that sense of confidence, that sense of direction. It's just a really good look. Honestly, y'all, you'd be so surprised how many bosses, I actually had a boss who did this, who get upset when you reach out to people for coffee chats without asking them first. It's so old school and political. It's so bizarre to me, but it does happen. So make sure you sit down with your boss, explain that you'd like to continue learning about the company's why and the company's how, and ask them if there's anyone they recommend you connect with. Ideally, you want to be connecting with people that you're going to be working with. So with the permission of your boss, you're setting up these conversations, and you're going to structure it this way. Meeting over video, in a perfect world, in person. And you're going to start off the conversation by saying, thank you so much for meeting with me. Here's a little bit about my background. I've of course looked you up on LinkedIn, but I'd love to hear more about your career here. And then you let them talk and you pick out things that are interesting. I would recommend having a couple of specific questions prepared, like how will we partner? What are some of the interesting nuances of working on this team? Like, have some interesting specific questions, but other than that, keep it casual, keep it under 20 minutes, and you wrap up by saying, I'm really excited for us to work together. And then you keep it moving, and you do that 4 or 5 times. And then what you do as a bonus is my empty coffee cup trick. Maybe I should come up with a coffee cup. Me scamper off. So many years ago, I think before I even really started posting on YouTube, I actually did that. I store my pens in it now. It says your future boss, and I had another one that used to say Emily the recruiter thinks I deserve a raise. At least once or twice a week, pick up your empty coffee cup, walk around the office the long way to go fill up your cup with coffee, and stop and say hi to the people that you networked with. You have a 2-minute conversation. Hi, how are you? How are the kids? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, great. Oh, I'm gonna go fill up my coffee. I'll talk to you later. And then you keep it moving. It's how you stay warm, stay present, and reestablish yourself as someone they trust, someone they like. So when it's time to work together, you're already operating off of a baseline of kind of trust, and it just works. Do not get obsessed with the first 30 days, get obsessed with the first 90. I don't know why people don't include this in the advice they give online, but the best thing you can do when you start a new job is within the first month, sit down with your boss and say, what would you ideally like to see me accomplish in the next 3 months? Do you know how powerful that question is? It is such bad advice to just start doing things, start fixing things. You need to ask your boss, what is your goal for me? Because the job description is great, but it's typically imperfect. Most likely your boss will say, oh, I'm hoping to achieve this, and I'd like us to improve that. It's gonna be pretty vague, and it's not gonna give you a lot of direction. What you do from there is you map out a plan. Okay, big boss wants an improvement on this project. I'm gonna create a roadmap based on all of the learning I've had of how we're gonna get there. Then you book another meeting with your boss, you present it to them, and they go, oh my God. It's sneaky, but it's true. A lot of people have a 3-month probationary period. So if you're gonna shit the bed and get fired without any severance pay, it's gonna happen in the first 3 months, most likely. So making sure that you're ahead of things and having very kind of forward-thinking, proactive conversation is what's going to set you apart from other people at the company. Do not skip the technicals. It's not sexy, so people don't talk about it on the internet, but you are going to advance so much more quickly in a new job if you actually learn the systems and the tools. The first 2 weeks on the job, you absolutely have to be booking at least 15 to 20 minutes a day to learn A, all of the bullshit training that they make you do when you first start, and B, all of the technical stuff. If you're using a tool like Power BI, any of these analytics tools, maybe it's a recruitment software, spend time working in it, because when the real work comes, it's going to be hard for you to figure out, okay, how do I do this new work at this new company? I don't know who I'm working with. I don't know who to ask questions, and I don't know how to use the technology. Please invest your time doing that. And on that note, don't go trusting your paycheck, babe. Your first paycheck, especially, why, you just trust they're going to pay you? Do you know how many times I've seen people be underpaid, taxed twice, especially in the first few paychecks because accidents happen? Triple, quintuple check all of your pay stubs, all of your benefit registration information. Get all of that shit done in the first 2 weeks, because once week 3 and week 4 hits, you might still feel new, but the people around you are going to be used to seeing you, and you're no longer going to feel new. So when you're asking, how do I get paid? How do I this? How do I that? They're going to be like, you didn't figure that out already, whether that's fair or not. I really try to keep these videos like short and digestible and like like not too chatty, just so you get all of the critical information that you need. This is definitely one of those videos I think I could easily make a series or do a part 2, because there's so many little things that can make starting a new job so stressful and way harder than it has to be. And if you just shift what you're doing a teeny tiny bit, you can make much better decisions, much better relationships, and have way better results. And who doesn't love better results? But if you have questions, don't be shy. Feel free to leave those in the comments of this video. And if you like hanging out with me, Lord, I am everywhere. I'm on Instagram at Emily the Recruiter, as well as on TikTok. And I have a podcast that you can listen to all the time. I will leave the link for that down below. I post on there weekly. They're longer and they're answering your specific questions. And I have like a producer who's so fun, who chimes in with her questions. It's just a good time, very education, but fun. I don't do boring.